Glory to Jesus Christ. You are listening to The Voice of Reason. I'm with my man, Roots of Faith, Roots of Orthodoxy, and we have a new Pope. I know that you usually run the show around here and you tell me what to do, but we gotta talk about this first, man, because we have a new Pope. Pope Leo XIV, man. American for the very first time ever. We have an American Pope at the Vatican. Crazy, man. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I've never heard of him.
You never heard of him? Yeah.
Give us your thoughts. Did you know him before?
No, I didn't. I did not know him before. I know that he was like in the top 10 list, the internal list of top 10 guys that could be elected. But I know that he was like more towards the bottom. And it's just crazy because all the experts were saying like, oh, they'll never elect an American Pope, not while America is like the dominant superpower in the world because of the way that the rest of the world looks at America, you know.
Right.
So they're like, they'll never elect an American Pope. That would be too controversial. And look what happened. And from Chicago, I got my Chicago on, man, for in honor of Pope Leo, man, Pope Leo XIV. So I'm repping, man. So we have an American Pope. When he was elected, I was watching on TV, man, and like I got emotional, man. I got emotional when they, when the commentators on there were saying it's an American. They elected an American cardinal, and then when we see his name, Leo XIV, I think I put it on Twitter. I was like, yo, man, like we got an American-born Pope who speaks Spanish. He's an Augustinian, and he picked the name Leo XIV. It's like I picked it myself. Like, it's surreal, man. So, gotta pray for him. Pray for him a lot because you know how it is when it comes to the Pope. There's always the Pope is a very polarizing figure. Some people are very happy, other people are very upset. That's just how the game goes. But you just gotta pray, man. You just gotta pray because he is the vicar of Christ. He is the head of the Christian church. He is the universal head of the Christian church. All Christians owe him submission. Owe submission to him, whether they know it or not, whether they realize it or not. He is the vicar of Jesus Christ, according to the promise of Jesus Christ that he made to Peter. Just like Pope Francis was the vicar of Christ. And all 267 popes have been the vicars of Christ. We got to pray for him, man. We really, really do.
Did you look him up? Did you look him up after, like to see?
Oh yeah. So
what he was all about?
It's so crazy, man. So maybe it's just because I'm an old man, and I don't like this. Like I don't like social media, man. I don't like social media because it's like the dude got elected, right? He got elected, and then like immediately everyone was just coming out making reaction videos in their professional studios looking like, I'm like, were they just like waiting? Like I know that when we film a video, we got to do like a lot of prep work to just make it to the studio and to film and all that. I'm like, man, it's crazy how fast people start making videos on this. And I don't like that. I really don't like that. Like, I think people need to chill, slow down, relax, just wait until the information comes in. I'm always, I'm always the last one to comment on anything.
Right.
When Pope Francis passed away, Pope Francis passed away, and everybody, even Protestants, were making their videos talking about the Pope passing away. I was traveling, that day. I was stuck in an airport that day, and I think this is the first time I've mentioned it on camera, talking about Pope Francis passing away. But all these people immediately making videos, and to me, it's like, man, like it's crazy how fast they hop on it and how fast they want to talk about it and comment and. Like, I understand it, you want things as quick as possible, but I'm like, yo, just chill, wait a minute, like, just wait, you don't need, just wait, you know what I mean, like, he's, just relax, and then immediately, we get, Pope Leo XIV, and everybody has an opinion, everybody wants to talk about it, everyone wants to give their expertise. No one knows, really, there's not much, that we know about him.
Right.
We know quite a bit, we have things that are coming out, but everyone's already judging him, already calling him
They didn't even know who he was before.
They had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
They literally probably Googled his name, looked up his, whatever, and now they're saying, oh, he's a liberal, oh, he's a super conservative, he's a, you know what I mean?
Super progressive. So,
and they can't even, they can't even agree with each other on what he is or what you're going to do. I'm like, yo, he just got elected yesterday at the time that we're recording this, so just wait. And, our job is to pray for him. Our job is not to judge him, not to, not to, immediately, say that the world is going to end, or that now we're, that we're
Right.
back, baby, whatever it is. Just your job is to pray for him. My job is to pray for him. Your job is to pray for him. Everyone watching this, your job is to pray for him. You know what I mean? And because Jesus Christ runs the show, the Holy Spirit runs the show. So all we got to do is pray.
I did see a lot of good faith Protestants and Orthodox come out and congratulate the Catholics.
Yep.
So I thought that was cool.
Yep.
That it wasn't like in certain circles, it wasn't a big
Right.
polemical thing.
Right.
What does it mean for the United States to have their first pope?
It's crazy, man, because again, the experts always said they'll never elect an American to the papacy. And I honestly feel like the reason he was elected is precisely because he was American. And I think that the Cardinals were looking for an American to actually go into, to get in that position to actually clean things up, because Americans are known as having that, can do it,
Right.
attitude. Let's get it done. Let's go to work. You know what I mean? Americans have that work ethic, and I think that they wanted somebody that kind of came from that world to just go in there and just get it done, make it happen. Because let's be honest, Pope Francis tried. He wasn't able to clean up things the way that that we wanted him to clean things up. Benedict XVI, he, God bless him. I believe he's a saintly, man. He was a saintly pope, and I believe he's in heaven praying for us right now. But he didn't. I don't even think he tried, because I don't even think he was aware of just how bad things were in the Vatican. And I think when he found out, and he was overwhelmed, and I think that's why he stepped down. The same thing with John Paul II. Saint John Paul II prayed for us. He just wasn't aware of certain things that were going on. But now that we know, hopefully, that's why they elected Pope Leo XIV, an American that's going to be able to go in there and just clean house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Honestly, I think that what the church needs, this is just my opinion, like a Donald Trump, like that kind of attitude, like that kind of let's get things done. We got things to take care of. We got things we need to do. Who cares about being friendly or being nice? Like we got it. This is important, that we got to get this done. I think that's kind of what the church needs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it's almost like the recent popes have been too holy. And of course you want a holy pope, but just because you're holy, that doesn't make you a good administrator. Just because you're holy doesn't mean that you're able to make the tough decisions that need to be made as an administrator, of Jesus Christ's church. So you need someone that's a little more rough around the edges to go in there and do the dirty work, because it is dirty work. And I think maybe that's why they elected an American, because they think an American will do the dirty work. Americans are not afraid of the dirty work, and I think that we're going to see, hopefully, my hope is that in the American church here, in the United States, and all of North America and South America, because our new pope has ties to South America too. He was in Peru for quite a long time. I think we're going to see positive changes. I think here's what I want to see. In the 80s, we had a dream team with Pope John Paul II and President Ronald Reagan, U.S. President Reagan. They teamed up, and those two guys, Pope John Paul II and Ronald Reagan, they were the ones that caused communism to fall. They ended communism. Well, now that we have an American pope and we have Donald Trump as president, right? And Trump is the best president we've had since Reagan. There's no argument there. He is the best president that we've had since Reagan. We got an American pope teaming up with the U.S. president now. They team up. We get another dream team, just like how we had it in the 80s. And they could probably put an end to a lot of the evils that are going on right now in the world, just politically. I think that they could do. We could see like in the new world, South America, and in the United States, of course. South America, Mexico, U.S. really come up. Really be elevated, and really see good changes happening. Especially in South America, and then here in the first world, here in the U.S., good positive changes within the church. I love that our new pope he's Augustinian. He has a degree in canon law. So he's like a canon lawyer.
What does it mean to be Augustinian for people that don't know?
So our pope, Pope Leo XIV, he was basically an Augustinian monk. Basically, is what it was. He became a priest in 1982. He was ordained, under the Augustinians. So he's not a diocesan priest, like how Pope Francis wasn't a diocesan priest.
Right.
He was Augustinian. He was a religious priest, so he was part of the religious order of the Augustinians. And the Augustinians, just like the Jesuits, Pope Francis was a Jesuit. You know, their main concern is education, and you know, education, evangelization, and missionary work. So I think that's really important. The Augustinians are incredible, and what I hope is that Leo XIV is going to revitalize catechesis here in this country, because he's an Augustinian, and he was a teacher. You know, he taught the faith. He was a professor. You know, even in Peru. I hope that he puts. I think the first thing that needs to happen in the entire church, especially here in America, is that we need to emphasize good catechesis. So I hope that he puts all of the correct people here in charge to, you know what I would love to see? And again, this is me thinking out loud. I would love to see Bishop Robert Barron get elevated as a cardinal, make him a cardinal, and put him in charge of overseeing the catechesis in the United States. Imagine if Bishop Barron was the one that was able to run the show here in this country over catechesis, how we get educated, reforming, because the catechesis, we've known for decades now, it's not as good as it should be. Reform it, make it as good as it possibly can. We get, Cardinal Robert Barron and, a good team around him to go to, here in America to just, make the catechesis here what it needs to be. And I'll volunteer. I'll work for free. I'll work for Bishop Barron, Cardinal Barron, Pope Leo XIV for free, and I can do the catechesis. You know what I mean, for the entire United States. But I think that's step one. Catechesis, educating people about the faith.
I think influencing culture is really important because, especially here in the United States, where the culture is very consumerism and individualistic. We're very self-driven and self-motivated. Whereas I think that's why Protestantism is so appealing, because a lot of it speaks to our selfish desires. And our culture. It kind of feels like, from, not to bash on Protestants, but the Protestantism that I've observed, like the mega church Protestants, even just the ones down the street right here, it's very much catered to the individual. It's about making you feel good. It's about motivating you. It's about giving you a nice business motivational talk. It's about giving you
that's the good old American spirit. And I think that's why Pope Leo was elected, because that's how the rest of the world sees us Americans. They see it as like, you're just businessmen. And I think even Bishop Barron said that like Pope Francis, when Bishop Barron would talk to people that would like talk to Pope Francis, that they would tell him, like, I feel like Pope Francis kind of just feels that us here in America, we're just businessmen and all we care about is making money, and because that's how the rest of the world sees us. But maybe use that then to clean up the mess in the Vatican and to make the Vatican great again. You know what I mean?
But it was interesting to see how many mainstream media outlets reported on the Pope, like Complex Magazine, Breakfast Club, all of these cultural influencers speaking about, like, it was a big deal. Like, I was actually surprised to see that, because I thought that
that's how it's always been.
Well, these platforms are usually the first to slander.
Just haven't noticed.
No, they're the first to slander the Pope. They're the first when Pope Francis were to say something, they were the first ones to report on it. So maybe it's just something that they want to make sure that they're getting coverage on it, and it's not really that much of a big deal. Like, I'm reading too much into it, but I
also think it has a lot to do with the fact that he's just American. You know what I mean? The fact that he's the first ever American Pope. All of these American outlets are going to, be talking about that more.
Good.
And I think that we're going to see now in American media, Catholicism be more at the forefront, and our new Pope be more at the forefront. And we're going to see American media talk a lot more about the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church and its role in the world. And I really suspect that a lot of people here in America will come to the faith, will come to the Catholic Church because of our Catholic Pope. That's what I hope. That's, not making a prediction, but, last night I was at an event with Christopher West, and we were talking about this, and I have these crazy wild ideas, but I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump became Catholic with a Catholic Pope. Imagine if Pope Leo XIV and Donald Trump team up, and they clean up all the mess going on in the world, in the West, and then Trump becomes Catholic. Why not? Dream big, right? Pray for him.
I think hopefully it influences like more of the pro-life policies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think so. I think that That's another thing. I'm very certain that not having an American Pope, I'm very certain that this is the best chance that we have now for our new American Pope to influence, you know, the United States into finally just completely banning abortion. I really think right now we have the best chance of that happening with an American Pope. That could be what we see. That's, you know, if John Paul II and Reagan were able to put an end to communism, Pope Leo XIV and Donald Trump could finally put an end to abortion in North America and South America. That would be huge. I think that's the goal. I think that should be the thing that they should strive for. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. We got to get all these things done. You know?
Yeah, I've already seen one of the things. I mean, a lot of things are coming to the surface now of things that he said in the past because people are trying to get to know who this Pope is.
Right, yeah.
And I think it was Live Action. They shared that they shared one of his quotes on abortion, on the value of human life. He says, "We cannot build a just society if we discard the weakest, whether the child in the womb or the elderly in their frailty, for they are both gifts from God."
And that's what all popes have said. Pope Francis said it, Benedict XVI said it, JP2 said it. This is standard, standard for the papacy.
Yeah. It's funny because I see comments and they're like, "We finally have a pro-life pope," and I'm like, "They've all been pro-life."
Yeah. See, people don't know what. That's why don't listen to the media. Man. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, go and read for yourself. Read what Pope Francis did in his papacy, what he said. Read his encyclicals. Read his magisterium. Read Benedict.
Pope Francis had one of the the coldest lines about abortion. What do you say? It's like hiring a hitman.
You're hiring a hitman to kill your baby. That's hard, bro.
Yeah.
Hard. Hard. Pope Francis was based, bro. Yeah. I don't care what anybody says.
That's funny.
Actually,
so we haven't addressed anything about Pope Francis on our social media channels other than the post where you wrote out your feelings about it. So talk about that. What did Pope Francis mean to you
Well, it's interesting that in that post I pointed out how when he was elected back in 2013, and I remember it clear as day, I was at my friend's house. I got a call from my old catechist that formed me back in the day. He called me and I answered the phone and she said, his name is Francis. His name is Francis. And I knew exactly what she was talking about. So I go and I turn on the news and there he is and I see Pope Francis for the first time. And I remember thinking like, wow, we have a Pope that speaks the language that I speak. And now with Pope Leo XIV, the very next one after Pope Francis, now we have a Pope that was born in the country I was born in, that we were born in, that speaks both of the languages that we speak, English and Spanish. So that's huge. But with Pope Francis, Pope Francis, I said it in that post that we made. Pope Francis made me a better Catholic because he challenged me. And I think that a lot of Catholics, they either will step up to the challenge or they'll just take the easy way out and say, "Oh, he's a heretic. He wasn't the Pope.
Right.
Catholicism is false," and then they'll leave. But that's what chumps do. You know what I mean? That's what losers do. If you left the Catholic Church because of Pope Francis, you're a loser. I don't care. You're a loser.
Yeah.
You messed up. Come back home. You belong here. Get your ass back in here.
Yeah, I've always held the position that if anybody leaves the Catholic Church because of something like that, then you're running away from something to go to something, not because you think it's true, but because you're running away from what you think is a problem here in the Catholic Church.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I love Orthodoxy, but I don't like if somebody becomes Orthodox because they were running away from the Pope, and not because they think that Orthodoxy is true. If you become Orthodox, you should become Orthodox because you think that it contains the fullness of the truth.
It's like who was it? The prelate Callisto's Ware, right? That
said, exactly.
With Father John Fenton, and he's and he said, "We don't want you.
If you're just running away from them, we don't want you."
Exactly. No, don't run away. Cowards run away.
Yeah.
No, if you're really about this, you stay and you figure it out. And guess what? When you do that, you become a better Catholic. I became a better Catholic because of Pope Francis. Because of Pope Francis, I actually had to read his magisterium. I didn't just read the reports on it. I had to go and read the magisterium to see for myself because we were getting all of these, conflicting reports about what he said or what he didn't say. I had to go read it myself to figure it out. And guess what? When you read it yourself, when you go to the primary sources, you realize this is based. Yeah. This is true. This is right. This is not what the media is saying. And Pope Francis, because he was so controversial, he challenged me, and I became a much better Catholic, and I understood the magisterium so much better because of him. You know?
Right.
So he made me who I am today. So I'll always have so much love for Pope Francis, and we got to pray for him, pray for Pope Francis, pray for the repose of his soul. You know, read his magisterium. Read so you can see how it is indeed in continuity with the magisterium of the last 2,000 years. And yeah, I think Pope Francis set the stage. It's interesting because a lot of people saw Pope Francis as he was very like anti-American, right? And even if that were true, well, maybe that's what set the stage for allowing for an American to become the Pope, you know?
Right. I think the fact that he speaks English is going to be a lot harder for the English media to take him out of context.
Finally, yeah. That's what I'm really happy about. We have an English Pope. He already gave us this morning. He gave his first homily as Pope, and it was in English because he was already getting some criticism for not speaking English in his address when he came out on the balcony.
He spoke Italian, right?
He spoke Italian and Spanish, and
he's in Rome. And that makes sense.
Yeah, well, you're in Rome, yeah. And he's fluent in Italian too. He's fluent in obviously English, Spanish, Italian, and French. And he and also German. He reads German and Latin. So he spoke Latin, Italian, Spanish, and now his first ever homily as the Pope, he did it in English. And I love that because now we don't have to worry about the mistranslations or whatever, because now we can hear it in our own language, whether it's English or so. With Pope Francis, I never had an issue with that because if he was speaking in Spanish, I understand Spanish. Italian, I understand Italian. Yep. You know, I can actually I'm like kind of fluent in Italian, and I understand Italian. So that was never an issue for me. But now I'm so happy that we have an English-speaking Pope, so that's no longer an issue here in America. But even then, he'll say something, and you know that the mainstream media is still going to try and twist his words.
Yeah, they'll still do it.
It's going to be a lot harder for them because now it's in the language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm excited.
And then now you can actually interview him.
I can interview him. Yeah. Yo, Pope Leo XIV, if you want to do an English interview, hit me up, man. Holy Father, hit me up. I'll talk to you. That'd be awesome.
What do you think it means for East and West relations?
That's an interesting question because I don't know. I have no idea what his position is on that. I have no idea what, how
the three previous popes put in a lot of work to try and mend the relations between Eastern Orthodox
and I think he's going to follow
Oriental Orthodox.
Yeah. I think he's going to follow that path because, this year we have the 1700th anniversary this summer of Nicaea I. And there was some rumors going around about, it's something that might be happening there. We got to pray for it. But I'm pretty sure that, of course, Pope Leo XIV wants to unite the churches again. And I think there's a good chance that we can see that happen this year. So we got to pray for that. I think that Pope Leo XIV is following the game plan of Pope Francis. And he's going to, work really hard to make that happen. So.
Do you know when... Because the canonization of Carlo Acutis got pushed back. Right. Do you know what's the update with that?
I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen pretty soon. I think that's going to be one of the first things he does as Pope. Do everything that was on the calendar before Pope Francis passed away. Right. I think it'll happen soon. I want to talk about his papal name because it's really interesting. So there's a lot of conservative Catholics, right, that they love the last Pope Leo XIII, not realizing that Pope Leo XIII was a liberal. Leo XIII was a liberal, but he is beloved by everybody universally, right? Conservatives think he's a conservative, but he was a liberal Pope, right? And he was he was a great Pope, great, amazing Pope. He's really considered the first modern Pope, Pope Leo XIII. He was the final Pope of the 19th century, and he was the Pope going into the 20th century. And he was actually the one that actually wrote a lot to the Church of the U.S. So Pope Leo XIII wrote to, and actually the first ever papal, I think it was an encyclical that was ever addressed to one guy, was addressed to an American cardinal. He wrote a lot to the Church in the U.S., and he wrote against the heresy of Americanism. So America is the only country in the world that has a heresy named after it, the heresy of Americanism. And he was writing against this heresy. So the previous Pope before Leo XIII was Pope Pius IX, and he published his syllabus of errors, which was a list of 80 heresies that he saw that were problems in the church at that time, and Americanism was on that list. Americanism, also known as the heresy of liberalism. So Americanism, liberalism are synonymous. So it's funny when a lot of like American conservatives are like, oh, we're conservative, but they don't realize, no, when you look at the grand scheme of the world, you are a liberal. Right. All Americans, even if you're a Donald Trump supporting American you're a liberal in the grand scheme of things in the world. And you know, Pope Pius IX published a syllabus of errors, said Americanism, liberalism is a heresy, and then the very next Pope, Pope Leo XIII, he is the one that wrote about that. He wrote about the heresy of Americanism and what it is. And it's so incredible, it's so interesting that we have the first ever American-born Pope, and he takes the name Leo XIV, following Leo XIII, who was criticized America a lot, you know, and was always fixing, you know, correcting the errors that America was making as a nation. Pope Leo XIII was always correcting us, and now we have an American-born Pope, Leo XIV. So I think that says a lot about what he's going to do for the American church, because your first question was about what does it mean for America. I think that Pope Leo XIV is going to come in and he is going to fix our errors. He is going to come in and he's going to say, you guys got this wrong and that wrong. All of this liberalism has to go. That's a heresy. That is a condemned heresy of the Catholic Church. It has to go. Your gender theory has to go. Your critical race theory has to go. Your, you know, the way that you see the family has to go. All of these things that you got, you know, obviously abortion, contraception has to go. I think that's what this Pope is going to do. The Pope is going to come in, an American Pope, and he's going to come in and he's going to tell us what time it is. He's going to show us everything that we've been getting wrong. Yeah. And I think that Donald Trump, President Trump, will respect that, and I think he'll listen to him, and I think he'll, you know what I mean, like I said, it'd be amazing if they teamed up and they cleaned up everything going on in the West and South America, and then if Trump became Catholic. Everyone should be Catholic, just so y'all know. Everyone should be Catholic, whether you're Protestant, Orthodox, whatever you are, atheist, whatever you are. God is calling you to His one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. So I think that this Pope should just inspire everybody, especially Americans and South Americans, because South America they've gotten kind of lukewarm in their Catholicism. You know, a lot of there's Pentecostalism basically is getting really big in South America. I think that this Pope might be able to, you know, I mean, Pope Francis was from South America too, but he didn't, you know, that we didn't see any stop in the trajectory of where South America was going. Hopefully with this Pope, an American, South American Pope, right, which is what Pope Leo XIV is. Hopefully he can stop that trajectory and he can make South America Catholic again, make North America, you know, the United States Catholic, make the Vatican great again. That's my hope.
You know what I would like to see more of is more Catholic schools, more Christian education, specifically Catholic though.
There you go.
Because I do think that they have a more balanced approach than the Protestant schools.
Yeah.
But you were telling me recently, I don't know if we can talk about this, but you were telling me you did a tour of one of the schools and just the level of education that they have for the Catholics.
If you're in the Albuquerque area and the mountain area right now watching this, you need to look up Holy Child Catholic School. Okay, I'm telling you right now, this Catholic school, it's a grade school, right? It only goes up to middle school, right? After middle school, then you go on to high school. I promise you, this is not an exaggeration. I am not exaggerating. The third graders at this one little Catholic high school, or elementary and middle school, Holy Child Catholic School in the mountains, the third graders are more educated than the college kids that go to UNM. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exaggerating.
I believe
the third graders know more than the college kids at UNM. The college kids at UNM are dumb, and they do not know the things that the third graders at this Catholic school know. It is crazy, son.
Yeah.
I was there. I have never felt so dumb in my life.
Yeah.
And the reason I can say that these third graders know more than the college kids is because they know more than me. I went there and I did a tour and I met some of the kids and I talked to the principal and the teachers. I was the dumbest person in that building, man. The dumbest person in that building.
Yeah, you showed me. You sent me
I have it right here.
A curriculum, and it was like
curriculum was crazy, bro.
All like
I'll pull it up right now.
The little kids, they were learning like Western philosophy
in the first grade.
Yeah,
in the first grade they learn Western philosophy. Watch, and I can pull it up right here. So in kindergarten, they learn about the cradle of civilization. That's the cradle of civilization year. I learned that when I was in the 8th grade.
I still don't know that.
The cradle of civilization, about Mesopotamia and all that. The cradle of civilization. I learned that in the 8th grade at Holy Child Catholic School. They learned that in kindergarten.
That's
first
crazy,
grade,
bro.
the Greek year. We didn't take Greek into high school. They take it in first grade. They learn about the Greek. So they literally read the poets, the philosophers, the Stoics. They read all of that, the Greeks. In the second grade is the Roman year. So they learn about the Roman Empire. We don't learn about that until we're sophomores in high school, right? They're learning about that in second grade. And then in the third grade, the medieval year. Do they even teach the medieval history anymore in high school? They learn that in the third grade. And that's why I say the third graders are more intelligent now. Because high schoolers, they might have a little bit of an idea of the Greeks and the Romans, but once you get to the medievals, they don't know what time it is. The third graders here at this school do. Fourth grade, the modern year, and then fifth grade, the American year. And then in sixth grade, the ancient year, so they kind of go back and they do like an overview in middle school. The ancient year, in the seventh grade, the Christendom year, and then the eighth grade, the New World year.
That's so crazy.
By the time you hit eighth grade, bro, you're smarter than any of the kids that go to UNM.
Yeah.
Straight up.
One thing I learned about being a father is that you see that your kids, they rise to the occasion. So the level that you expose them to from the education, they'll
meet it. Yeah, they'll meet it.
But I feel like we were capped. In the public school, it's like, oh, you don't learn multiplication until you're in first grade or second grade. Nah. So that's the rate that you're gonna learn.
Yeah,
because kids, they absorb so much. Up, man. So much.
I'll never forget. You know this with my goddaughter with Areli. We were in mass one time, bro, at St. Thomas Aquinas, and we were there, and she asked me a question, right? I think it was a question about, it was either about the Eucharist or it was either about why we have to come to mass.
Yeah.
And she was little, bro. She was, at the time, she was like what, 4 or 5 at the time. And she was little and she was bored at church, right? And she's like, why do we have to be here? Like, why do we have to come here every Sunday? Like, what's the...
Right.
And she asked me to explain it. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I was just in a mood that day, but I didn't bother dumbing it down for a 4-year-old. I said it the way that I would explain it to you. Exactly how I would explain it to you. I said it to her, and she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, I get it. That's easy." And then she loved going to mass after that, and she loves going to mass. My goddaughter, I'm so proud of her. And they have great parents too. Shout out to Brian and Ayeli, who are also my god kids, by the way. So my 2 god kids married each other, had beautiful babies, and I'm also their godfather, and a beautiful holy family. And she just knew. I just told her straight up how it goes. I was like, let me tell you about what St. Thomas Aquinas said on this.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, cool, got you, get it. And she's good now. So
crazy.
Our kids are not dumb, bro. You just tell her how it is. See, we lower the bar for them. No, keep the bar high. Keep the bar high, and they will meet
and it's not hard for them either. Like
not at all. They can do it.
They receive
They're
it.
Smart, bro.
They receive it. Yeah.
Because they're open books. They're open books. You don't have to undo. They're clean slates, is what I mean to say. Yeah. You don't have to undo. You don't have to fix their errors because they don't have errors.
They don't have these paradigms that they have to break.
Just give it to them straight, give it to them real, give it all to them, and because they're clean slates, they'll just take it all in, and they'll get it, they'll comprehend it. That's the age when their brain develops and forms, and they're learning everything that they look at, they just internalize it.
Right.
So give them everything they can handle, you know. Yeah. And that's what this Holy Child Catholic School. And then, so that day, I did a tour. When we got to go, I got to show you, bro. You're gonna fall in love. We got to do a tour, check the school out, and then that same night, I went to the gala for Chesterton Academy. The Chesterton Academy is the Catholic high school. Mm-hmm. You got to check out what they're learning up there, bro. Their curriculum, see what they're doing. So shout out to Holy Child, Chesterton Academy. Shout out to all Catholic schools. The education is incredible. Like, when I went to go see Holy Child, bro, I wanted to cry because I felt like you and I, bro, we were cheated, bro. We were cheated out of an education, son. You and I are dumb, dude. We're not smart. You and I are not smart people, bro. We're dumb because we did not get the education that we should have gotten And I really want to see Catholic schools, man, like make a huge comeback, and
they could be the vehicle that takes the country's education to the next level.
That's what it is, bro.
You look at these other countries, these other developed countries, even like China, even like you look at what they're learning, you're like, dang, these kids are so advanced. They're in elementary school, they're learning about engineering, and I'm like, damn, like,
yeah, bro.
And we're falling behind. That's why China's becoming a superpower in technology. They probably already surpassed us, to be honest, but I think that could be a great way to increase the education level for everybody.
You know, and again, our new Pope, he's an Augustinian, so education is very important to them. Hopefully that would be another great thing that they could do if they team up. You know, the Pope and the President, they could team up and they can make Catholic education more prominent and more accessible.
More accessible
to everybody.
It's so expensive.
You know what I mean? Because Trump wants to fix education.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, I think they're going to gut, you know, they're trying to gut the Department of Education. They should just shut it down. The Department of Education has only existed for, you know, I think in the 70s is when it, you know, in the 70s, I think is when it started, and then everything went to hell after that. So just get rid of it. They put Linda McMahon in charge, gut it, get rid of it, and let's go back to how we were doing things before then. You know what I mean? Right. A good private education right now would be excellent. Or at least, you know, the public education taking it back to where it was, you know, during its prominence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, more religious education. I would love to see more monasteries, and then the more monasteries we have, the more access we have to bringing people to exposure to that. You know,
education. That's where my heart is, man.
Yeah,
that's why I said if you know, the Pope wants somebody, you know, Bishop Robert Barron, if he gets made a cardinal, needs some help. Not just me, but everybody, all the Catholic YouTubers, man. Sips with Sarah, Religious Hippie, Michael Lofton, put Professor Lofton on the case. You know, all of everybody that can educate, especially on the faith and evangelize, catechesis, put it, you know, we'll do it, man.
Right.
Everybody, all of us. Yeah.
Cool. Any last words about the Pope?
I'm excited, man. Can you tell that I'm excited? Very excited. You know what I mean? I'm excited, man. Pray for him. Everybody just needs to pray for him, and know that our Lord Jesus Christ is in charge. The Holy Spirit is taking care of everything, and have faith in Jesus Christ and His promise and in His church. And rest in peace, Pope Francis. Pray for Pope Francis, and God bless our brand new Pope, Pope Leo XIV.